Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and in this video we are going to create an enemy that can spawn into our game and will follow our player, and if it touches the player it's going to reset the level. It's a very basic enemy system, but what we're also going to do is we're going to create a spawning system where the enemy will spawn at a random place in the game somewhere, wherever in the game, on the outer edge. So we'll talk about that as we do it. But first, I want to clean up some of this stuff here. Let's take a look at our files here and just kind of, I want to expand. Okay, that's good. So I want to organize these files. The lantern is a model, so the lantern should be in the models folder. And then all that's good. Okay, good. Now we have a couple of scenes and we have some scripts here. Let's see what we can do about getting these scenes into their own folder and the scripts into their own folder. So I'm going to create a new folder called Scenes. And let's grab these two scenes and drag them up into the Scenes folder. And then let's create a new folder called Scripts. And let's drag these scripts into the scripts folder. Okay, good. So now we have everything organized properly. Some of the models have scenes in them. Oh, we've got a script in our pedestal model now. Let's drag that into our scripts. Some of these models have scenes. We can go ahead and drop those in as well. The rock is a scene. Let's drop that in. And the tree has a scene. Let's drop that in. Okay. Perfect. All right, so now we have all of our possible scenes in the game are right here. All of our scripts are right here, and our models are there. So it's way more organized. The other thing I want to do is, if we play the game here, it looks great, but it's still too bright. It's very, very bright. So I'm going to go into my directional light, and I'm going to move the energy down to, let's say, 0.2 and see what, that looks really nice. Let's play the game and see how spooky that looks. Okay, it looks good, but it's a bit weird. The horizon isn't looking exactly the way I want, but I do like the let's try 0.4 and see if I like that better. Okay, not too bad. I think we'll go with 3. And we can play with these other settings too. Like I can increase the volumetric fog to make it a little bit more dense. Let's try that. See if that feels better. Okay, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to make it darker, and so I have done that. So I can move on. Actually, I'll move the fog back to 1. There we go. That's better. And actually, maybe even a little less, 0.5, because it seems to be darkening my scene even more. Oh yeah, that's what I want. Okay, that looks great. Okay, perfect. So I'm done playing around. Now it's time to get serious. Let's start building our enemy. Okay, so for the enemy, I am going to let's actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's create a new scene for the enemy itself. So it's going to be another object just like these. So I'm going to click the plus, and it's going to be of type Area 3D, because the way we're going to use this enemy is it's going to basically just be it's going to be an area that if it passes into the player's collider, it's going to cause some problems. Okay. And let's rename this to, I don't know, Ghost, because we're going to use a ghost enemy here. Let's go ahead and bring in that model. So I'm going to go to my File Explorer, go to my desktop, and I have a ghost model in here somewhere. Is it in here? Did I put it in there? Where did I put it? Where's my ghost? Oh, I've got so many files. might be, oh, there we go, ghost.fbx. Okay, so because this is an FBX file, we can literally just drag this right in to our file system here. And it put it in scenes, it looks like. Yep, ghost.fbx, that's what we're looking for. Let's actually drag that up into models because it is technically a model. So we can see it there. And if we were double click on this, we would be able to see our ghost model, which is pretty awesome. It's just a free model that I found on Sketchfab. So it's great, but it doesn't have any animation. There's a 4D camera attached to it, but we're not going to pay attention to that. There's all kinds of good stuff on it, but it's basically just going to look like that as it's floating toward us. All right, so we have our ghost. Let's add this ghost as a child of the area. Now, it looks really grayed out and see-through. That's because we have, it's because our volumetric fog is turned on, so we can see what it would look like in a scene without that, but that's fine. Or because we're not simulating lighting and whatnot. So we can turn that on and see what that looks like. But it's okay, we don't need that. We probably want it to be a little bit closer to the ground. It's hovering way up in the air. Okay, let's bring it down and let's add a collider to it. So I'm going to add a child node, collision shape 3D. And I'm going to choose a capsule. Let's bring the capsule up. And yeah, that's about right. I mean, we can make it skinnier if we want to. We just want to make it so that whenever we touch the player, we reset the level. Okay, and the last thing we need is a script. Let's go ahead and attach it. And ghost.gd is great, but we want to make sure we put it in the right folder. So I'm going to click the folder here. Let's put it in the scripts folder. Okay, perfect. So now we have a new script, ghost.gd. Perfect. Okay, so in this script, we're going to want to do a couple things. One, we want to look at the player. So we want to turn and look toward the player. We also want to move toward the player and follow the player as they move around the level. Okay, so we're going to need a speed. So let's do that first. Let's make it an export variable so it's easy to change. Export var speed, and we'll make it a float. And I'm going to set mine to 1. Okay. Then we need a variable that will store a reference to our player. So var player, and it's going to be of type character body 3D, because our player is a character body 3D. Okay, perfect. Now, right off the bat, what we need to do is we need to get reference to the player. I can't do it here because this ghost isn't going to exist when we start the game. The way the ghost is going to work is we're going to create something called a spawner, which is going to spawn in instances of this ghost. Now, the problem is every instance of the ghost needs to know who the player is so they know who to follow. We can't attach the player to, let's say, this one instance of a ghost because it needs to be able to find the player in the scene. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to add the player to something called a group. So let's go to the player scene here, and over in the node tab, let's make sure we select the player. Over in the node tab, there's signals and there's groups. And over here in group, you can see that I've already done this. Let me delete the group here. All right. So, and let me remove from the group. How do I do that? I guess I can't. Okay, whatever. So over here in groups, I can click plus to create a new group, and I'm going to call it player with a capital P. Okay, player with a capital P, and click OK. So then we create this new group, and we're attaching the player to the player group. I can assign it and unassign it from the player group. So I want to make sure the player is a part of the player group, because in our ghost script, what we're going to do is, as soon as this ghost pops into the game, we want to assign our player variable to equal get_tree dot get first node in group. Okay, so basically we're going to look for a specific group and we're going to get the first node that's in that group, and then the group we're looking for is player. So now we have our player. So the ghost will now know exactly who to look at. Okay, so let's set up that process so that we can actually rotate the character toward the player and move toward the player. So that's all going to happen within the physics process function. So func physics process. First, we need a direction. And the direction is going to be player.global position, because we want to figure out the direction that they're going to turn is going to be based on where the player is minus where the ghost is. So minus self.global position. So we're looking at the difference between where the ghost is and where the player is. That's going to be the direction. Okay. We also want to normalize our direction. So direction, well, we can do it up here actually if we wanted to. Let's do it down here. It's totally fine. Direction equals direction dot normalized. Okay. And that's basically just going to make it smooth. So if we're going on a diagonal, it's not going to go as fast. Normalizing is generally a good idea for movement vectors. Okay, now we want to look at player.global transform. Global underscore, oh, there it is, labeled player.global transform dot origin, meaning the center of the player object. Okay. And we also need to give it one more. Notice that it's asking for the target and what direction is up. So for us, vector 3.up is up. All right, so that'll get us to look at the player. Let's test that out. Let's go to our world, and let's drop an instance of our, we need to save our ghost scene first. So save scene. Let's put it, let's go up. Let's go to scenes. And let's save it here in the ghost or in the scenes folder. So now we have ghost. Perfect. Let's go to player and save. Let's go to world and let's drop an instance of our ghost somewhere in our game. So let's go to scenes, find our ghost and drop her in. Okay. And let's play. Oh, that's so cool. That ghost is cool looking. And watch, as I move, the ghost is turning to face me, which is really, really cool. Okay? All right, perfect. The next thing we need to do is we need to set it up so that the ghost will come toward the player. That's actually really easy to do. All we have to do is change the ghost's global transform.origin. And we just need to add our direction times speed times delta. Basically, we're just going to update the global transform origin based on the direction we're going to be moving toward, and that speed delta. And if you notice, oh gosh, now it's coming at me and I can move and it's going to rotate and follow me no matter, this is actually super creepy. It won't stop following me. Okay, so it's already kind of fun. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to basically reload the scene whenever our player touches the ghost, or I guess better said, whenever a ghost touches the player. So the way to do this is using a signal. And because we've set this up as an area, let's go to our ghost scene. Because we set it up as an area 3D, we have an amazing signal that we can use called body entered, right? It's great for connecting for handling relationships between character bodies and areas. So we have an on body entered. Now what we want to do is our ghost is going to be floating through all the objects in our game. It's basically going to be phasing through everything. So we first want to check to see if the body that we've collided with is the player. If it is, then we want to reset the scene. If not, we don't want to reset the scene every time our ghost bumps into a tree or a rock, right? So we first need to check if body.is underscore in group, there we go, is in group player. So here's the second time we're using that player group to determine if we're talking or if we're actually touching the player, which is great, right? This is why groups are fantastic. Then we are going to get tree dot reload current scene. There we go. That's it. That's how you do it. All right, so let's play and test this out and see if when the ghost touches me, if the game resets. It does. All right, cool. So we can reset the game anytime we touch the ghost. Fantastic. Oh man, that's looking so cool. And it's really creepy too, the way it just slowly comes toward you. Now, if you, for example, don't like how fast it's coming toward you, if you want to change this, this is why we created speed as an export variable. You can change it from here if you'd like. Okay, perfect. Now, here's the thing. We don't actually want the ghost to be in our scene to begin with. We want the ghost to pop into the scene at a random place and at a specific set interval. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete our ghost from our scene. We don't want it. Let's get rid of it. Okay. What we want to do instead is we want to create something called a spawner. So enemy spawners are pretty common in video games. So this is going to be a thing, an object, a scene really, that will spawn a specific instance so that we can put, and we can use this spawner for anything really, any enemy we want. So let me just show you how it's done. So first thing we want to do is create a new scene, okay? And we're going to give it a node 3D as its root, and we're going to rename it to spawner, okay? And let's go ahead and save this scene in our scenes folder. Cool, perfect. So the way spawner is going to work is we're going to have a timer. And that timer is going to be auto start, meaning it's turned on automatically. And we are going to write a script that is basically going to spawn a ghost at a specific time. So every time this timer is one shot, every time it hits, not one shot, but every time the wait time is up, it's going to spawn a new ghost. It's going to create a new ghost somewhere in our level, okay? So we need a script to do that. So let's create plus script, and let's change it so that it goes to our scripts folder. Okay, and let's take a look at what we've got. So we're extending node 3D. First thing we want to do is get reference to our timer. So let's do ready, and let's say, actually no. First thing we want to do is we want to set our spawn interval. So what this is going to be is, let's export this variable, spawn underscore interval. Let's set it as a float and set it equal to 2.0. So what this is going to do is spawn interval is going to allow us to set how long in terms of seconds should we wait before we spawn a new ghost. So in our ready function, we can access our timer, and we can set our timers.wait time to equal spawn interval. So when we change this variable, it'll change how long the timer waits. Okay, perfect. Next thing we want to do is we want to get a random position somewhere in our level. Now, I don't want it to be just randomly in the middle of the level. What I want, let me see if I can visualize this a little bit. Let's look at the top view. So imagine that we had a circle that was going around the level, okay? And I want to spawn a ghost somewhere randomly on that circle, and then have the ghost start coming in. So it looks like the ghosts are coming out of the trees, coming in from the forest, right? So it's going to pick a random interval somewhere on this line or somewhere here, and it's going to spawn a ghost, okay? The thing is, I don't quite know how big this is, right? So let's see. Is there a better way for us to measure? Let's try something here. I'm going to bring in let's just bring in like a rock or something. I'll bring in a new ghost. Why not? And let's plop them down at, set its transform to 0, 0. And I'm going to move them out to the edge here and see what the position is. It looks like it's about 40. Okay. Let's see, 40 and 40. Well, it's about, okay, about 30. Yeah. So 30 is probably a good radius, because I'm basically just measuring from the center here to the edge. So that's 30 would be great. Okay, so I'm going to delete my ghost. So here's what I want to do. I want to create a circle that is of that radius. So let's go back to my spawner script, and let's create another export variable. Let's say at export var spawn radius. This is going to be a float as well, just because it's going to make the math a little bit easier to do later. And let's set it to 30.0. Okay. Beautiful. Now we want to get a random spawn position 30 in a radius of 30 away from our origin point. Okay. So let's create a new function to do this. We're going to call it get spawn. Okay. I guess we can call it get spawn position. That's probably better, but that's fine. And we actually want to return, okay, yep. Let's return a vector 3 from this function. So this function is going to calculate a vector 3 and return it back to whatever function calls this. Okay. All right. So first we need the angle, which is going to be randf, meaning a random function in a range from 0 to tau. Okay, so tau is essentially the same as pi times 2, I believe. But tau is what you want there. Capital T-A-U. It's a calculus term. There's going to be a lot of geography math here. Var x is going to be the cosine of our angle multiplied by spawn radius. Var y, well, let's do z. Z is a better. Var z is going to be the sine of our angle multiplied by spawn radius. Okay. Why do I have an extra space there? That's weird. Anyway, so we have x and z, which is the cosine and the sine of our angle, our random angle that we've determined here. And what we just need to do is return that vector 3. So return vector 3. And the first thing is going to be our x, then 0, because we're not going to spawn randomly in the middle of the air, and z. Okay, so this function here is going to calculate a random position on the radius of that circle and then return it as a vector 3. So that way we know, let's spawn a ghost at that exact vector 3. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's spawn a ghost. Spawn, yeah, let's just spawn. And actually, I'm going to change this function name to get spawn position, so that that's a little bit more accurate, I guess. All right, so now we want to spawn our thing. Let's create a new variable. Call it toSpawn, and let's set it to. Okay, so we need a reference to a specific scene. So let's do that up here. Let's make it an export. Export var, and let's call it scene to spawn. Okay, and the scene we want to spawn is going to be a packed scene. Okay, so basically this is going to be, we're going to drop in whatever scene we want to spawn whenever this spawn function runs. So we're going to create a variable called toSpawn, and we're going to bring in that scene toSpawn. And then we're going to instantiate this as well. So instantiate, okay, which is going to create an instance of that scene. Let me just hit enter a couple times. It'll create an instance of that scene for us to instantiate, for us to spawn in. Okay. Then we're going to say toSpawn dot global underscore position equals get spawn position. So we're going to basically get the position we need to spawn in. Then all we have to do is add child to spawn. That's it. Now, the last thing we need to do is set up our timer function so that whenever our timer goes off, we call this spawn function. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go to node. Let's click timeout, and let's delete all these so it is up here. So on timer timeout, all we want to do is spawn. That's it. So now we have a spawner that will spawn new instances of this thing, whatever it is, at a specific interval. So let's go back to our world scene. And let's zoom in here. I don't want the top-down view anymore. Let's try to, well, let's focus on our player. Oh, I'm not using Unreal right now. Oh, I'm upside down. Hello. Am I upside down? I think I'm upside down. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, because I'm in orthogonal view. Let's use perspective. Okay. So now I'm here. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so let's add our spawn into this world scene. So our spawner, let's drag it up into our world. So now we have a spawner object. Great. And then what we want to do is make sure that we, right here it says scene to spawn. This is the thing that we want to spawn at our specific interval. So the scene we want to spawn is ghost. We'll drop it right in there. So now every 2 seconds at a radius of 30 away from the center, we should spawn one of these ghosts. Okay, let's go ahead and play and see if that actually did what we thought. So let's look around, looking around, looking around. Okay, there's got to be a ghost popping up somewhere. Somewhere. Where do my ghosts be? What's going on? Oh, there she is. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so cool. All right, so it just crept. Oh no, there's a bunch of them. Oh, they're everywhere now. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Okay, look at that. Whoa, they're spawning so fast. Ah, they're everywhere. Forest full of ghosts. Yeah, and one touched me. Okay, so our spawner is working. We can even play around with it too. We can change the radius. Let's set it to 10 and see what that looks like. So that should spawn ghosts pretty close to me. Oh, wait. Did I not? I didn't hit enter. I need to press enter before I play test. Okay. Now I should see ghosts pop. Oh, very close. Look at that. Boom, boom. And it's coming in at random positions too, which is really, really nice. That's what we like. Okay, perfect. So our spawner is working. It's working. I'm going to change the interval to 3 so that it takes longer. So we have a working spawning system for our game. Enemies are spawning at a pretty good interval. I wonder why my lantern isn't... I could have swore I changed the override for this lantern's mesh. Maybe I didn't. Let's do that real quick. Turn on my glass. There we go. Now it'll look nice. I must have messed something up earlier. But anyway, so the spawner looks good. Enemies are spawning in perfectly. My player looks good. My interaction system still works. Let's test that, make sure it still works. So I can come over here and turn on the light. Perfect. Okay. At this point, we have everything we need in order to build a fully functioning game. So I'm going to leave you to it. At this point, I'm just going to let you put all the final touches on this game, build out the game the way you want it to be. Add in some music if you want. Add in some spooky sound effects. Add a main menu. Add whatever you want to this game. Put some finishing touches on this thing. Add or do something different than what I've already done. Right? Make a new scene with a different style, different trees. Find different models if you want to bring them in. Whatever it is you want to do it, and then we will talk about so after you do that, I'm going to give you some time to work on that, to finalize the game, make the game you want to make. When you're done with that, then we will talk about how to publish this game and put it on some websites, or publish it on Windows so you can play it on a computer, on a desktop computer in front of you, whatever you want. So, but that's it for me. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to let you guys get to work building this game the way you want to build it. And I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. All right. Thanks for paying attention, and I'll see you next time.